Alo Yoga is everywhere, from influencers sipping R1 smoothies, looking effortlessly cool, to even making IPO headlines a few years back. It's the brand that turned yoga, luxury, and wellness into one perfectly curated lifestyle. So after that Lululemon deep dive I did a few weeks ago, I figured it was only fair to do another one, but this time on its fashion-forward, Instagram-famous Alo.
At first glance, it looks like just another yoga brand. Clean clothes, calm colors, models stretching in perfect light. You've seen it on Instagram, maybe in a mall, maybe worn by a celebrity. But look closer. Behind the soft fabric and wellness image is a fast-growing business that quietly turned yoga clothes into a global lifestyle brand worth billions. No loud ads, no flashy discounts, yet Alo spread everywhere. So how did a small Los Angeles yoga brand grow into a massive lifestyle company? How did it compete with giants like Lululemon without racing to the bottom on price? And what does Alo's rise teach us about modern branding, money, and consumer behavior? This is not just a fashion story. This is a business story hiding in plain sight. Alo Yoga was founded in 2007 in Los Angeles. The founders, Danny Harris and Marco DeGeorge, didn't start with a tech platform or a huge budget. They started with a simple idea: make yoga clothing that feels premium and looks clean, both inside and outside the studio. The name Alo stands for air, land, and ocean. From the beginning, this wasn't just about clothing. It was about a lifestyle, wellness, balance, intentional living. At the time, the yoga market was already crowded. There were cheaper brands, louder brands, more colorful brands. But Alo chose a different path. Instead of chasing trends, they focused on aesthetic consistency. Muted colors, minimal logos, simple designs that could be worn anywhere, not just during workouts. This mattered because Alo wasn't selling leggings, it was selling an identity. You could wear Alo to yoga, then to lunch, then on a flight. That blurred line between fitness wear and everyday fashion helped Alo move beyond the gym. This foundation set the stage for everything that came next. Alo didn't grow just because it sold yoga pants. A lot of brands do that. What made Alo different was how it positioned itself. From the beginning, Alo was not selling clothes. It was selling a lifestyle: calm, health, balance, a certain version of success. Instead of loud ads, Alo leaned into visibility. Celebrities wore it. Influencers posted it. Yoga instructors recommended it. Slowly, Alo became something people recognized before they ever understood the company behind it. Social media played a huge role, Instagram especially. Alo's products showed up in yoga studios, luxury gyms, and minimalist homes. The brand didn't chase trends. It stayed clean, neutral, and premium. That consistency built trust. Then came the smart move: community over customers. Alo didn't just sell online. It opened physical stores designed like wellness spaces. Some locations hosted yoga sessions. Others felt more like lounges than retail shops. This changed how people interacted with the brand. Shopping became an experience. From a business point of view, this was powerful. Experience increases loyalty. Loyalty increases repeat purchases, and repeat purchases drive long-term revenue. This is where Alo quietly separated itself from fast fashion. It slowed things down, and paradoxically, that made it grow faster. But branding alone doesn't build a billion-dollar company. At some point, the numbers have to work, and that's where Alo made its next big move. As demand grew, Alo faced a problem many growing brands struggle with: scale. More products, more stores, more inventory, more risk. To manage this, Alo leaned into direct-to-consumer sales. Selling directly means higher margins, no middleman, more control over pricing, more data on customers. That data mattered. It helped Alo understand what people bought, when they bought it, and why. Over time, this made product launches more precise and reduced waste. Alo also expanded carefully. New categories came in slowly: accessories, bags, wellness products. Each addition felt intentional, not rushed. Behind the scenes, the company invested in technology and operations. Inventory planning improved. Logistics became smarter. This is the unglamorous side of fashion that rarely gets attention, but it's where profits are protected or destroyed. Financially, this mattered a lot. Strong operations mean fewer losses, fewer discounts, better cash flow. And then came the moment that turned heads across the finance world. Reports surfaced that Alo's parent company was being valued around $10 billion. For a private lifestyle brand, that number changed the conversation. Alo was no longer just a popular yoga label. It was a serious business with global ambition. But high valuation brings pressure, and not everyone was convinced Alo deserved it. As Alo grew, so did the criticism. Customers started asking hard questions. Is the quality worth the price? Are products consistent? Is this still a wellness brand, or just expensive clothing? Online forums and social media filled with mixed opinions. Some praised Alo's design and comfort. Others complained about durability and customer service. From a finance perspective, this matters more than it seems. Premium brands survive on perception. If trust drops, margins shrink. Discounts increase, loyalty weakens. There's also competition. Brands like Lululemon, Vuori, and emerging activewear startups are fighting for the same audience. The market is crowded, and consumers have options. These are the questions investors, analysts, and even customers are quietly asking, and the answers will decide Alo's future. From the outside, Alo looks calm, clean, and almost perfect. But as the brand grew faster, pressure started to show behind the scenes. One of the biggest issues people talk about is price versus quality. Alo positions itself as premium. The prices say luxury. But online, some customers began asking a hard question. Is it really worth it? On social media and forums, shoppers shared mixed experiences. Some love the design and comfort. Others complain about fabric wear, sizing problems, or customer service delays. When a brand grows fast, even small issues scale quickly. Another challenge is competition. Alo is no longer just fighting small yoga brands. It's competing with giants like Lululemon, Nike, Adidas, and newer fast-growing brands like Vuori. These companies have deep supply chains, strong logistics, and massive marketing budgets. There's also the risk of trend fatigue. If Alo keeps its focus tight, it can avoid the trap many fast-growing brands fall into, growing everywhere, all at once, and losing control. But if it pushes too hard, expands too fast, or ignores customer feedback, the brand could face the same slowdown others have faced before. The lesson here isn't just about Alo, it's about modern brand building. In today's world, attention is easy to get. Trust is harder to keep. Alo's story is still being written, and the next few years will decide whether it becomes a lasting global brand or just another trend that peaked at the right moment. Alo Yoga didn't just sell leggings, it sold a lifestyle, a feeling, and a vision of modern wellness. Through smart branding, influencer power, and global ambition, it turned a niche yoga brand into a multi-billion-dollar business. But growth always comes with questions. Can a brand stay authentic as it scales? Can premium survive mass appeal? And can hype turn into long-term value? That's the real story of Alo. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more simple, clear documentaries on business, money, and modern brands, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. And tell us in the comments, do you think Alo is built to last? Or is it riding a trend? Your answer might say more about the future of modern brands than you think.